This is Market Bytes, where we give you 3 things to think about when it comes to markets. This week is all about bonds. Green bonds, nature bonds, and blue bonds. Green bonds. Governments and companies raised almost $500 billion last year selling bonds to fund green and sustainable projects, and that momentum shows no signs of stopping. This year, that amount is expected to reach $650 billion. The majority of that debt is to help fund projects like renewable energy investment and greener infrastructure. The UK was the first country to set a net zero emissions target and plans to issue its first green government bond later this year. That means that it's catching up with the rest of Europe, but the US is still nowhere to be seen. Nature bonds. This year could see countries getting cheaper debt repayments if they're protecting nature and their environment. With biodiversity rising on the green agenda, governments and investors are starting to see how important nature is to securing the future of our supply chains and our economies, as well as drawing greenhouse gases from the air to fight climate change. Pakistan says that this year it's going to be the first country in the world to issue debt with repayments linked to how well it's doing at protecting its biodiversity. The government there has promised to plant almost 10 billion trees by 2023, and it could even repay its debt in carbon credits, not cash. Blue bonds. Greener debt doesn't just have to be green. Companies and governments are increasingly looking at issuing blue bonds, raising money to protect the oceans and marine life. That could particularly happen in Asia, where the state-owned Bank of China raised almost $1 billion in debt to finance marine projects last year. More could be on the way across the rest of the continent. The Asian Development Bank has pledged $5 billion to the blue economy by 2024. And these issuers will be following the Seychelles, the tiny archipelago in the Indian Ocean which first issued a sovereign blue bond back in 2018. But watch out for greenwashing. Investors and environmental campaigners are also on the lookout for companies and governments that might just be looking for cheaper debt, rather than actually protecting the environment. That's it for this week's edition of Market Bytes. I'm Todd Gillespie. Make sure to follow us on Quicktake and Bloomberg. Whoa, that was a lot of bonds.